Japan. It is known for beautiful cultural sites, iconic cities, and historical events. It is the home of around 125 million people. But this island is home to something else, something dangerous, something that a lot of people are overlooking. Threats that may put a stop to this prosperous country in the coming centuries.
First, let's take a look at where Japan is on the map. Japan lies between the 24th degrees north and 45 degree north, and is surrounded by oceans on all sides. The Sea of Okhotsk is to the north, the Pacific Ocean to the east, the Sea of Japan and the East China Sea to the southwest, the Philippine Sea to the south, and the Korean Strait to the southeast. It has one of the longest coastlines in the world, and because of that, the climate is relatively mild with cool winters and warm summers. From the outside world, Japan seems to be blessed with beautiful climates and sceneries. However, people here are no strangers to natural disasters. In fact, Japan may face up to 4 to 5 earthquakes a day. This is due to the geographical position. It is in Japan's main island are very near and in some part are sitting on what is known as the Pacific earthquake belts, more commonly known as the Ring of Fire. It is the meeting point of several tectonic plates, which, when two collide, an earthquake happens. This is the reason why Japan is so prone to dangerous tsunamis. In addition, Japan is located on a land that holds a tenth of all volcanoes on Earth, with one of them being Mount Fuji.
As many of us know, greenhouse gases are one of, if not the biggest concern when it comes to climate change. As we might not know, however, is the fact that greenhouse gases can actually be good for our atmosphere at safe amounts, and is actually helpful for cooling the earth. However, research strongly suggests that when too much greenhouse gas is pumped into our atmosphere, it can be harmful. Firstly, let's take a look into why greenhouse gas can be good. Greenhouse gases in our atmosphere trap heat inside Earth. Without this effect, Earth would not be able to sustain life. However, when too much thermal energy from the sun is trapped inside the Earth, it will heat it up to an unsafe level, which, as we know, melt the polar ice caps, which cause rising sea levels. Greenhouse gases occur naturally in carbon dioxide, methane, fossil fuels, and more. Cars, planes, factories, ships, and heating our home are all pumping greenhouse gases into our atmosphere. As technology advances and more people have access to these things, the further we do damage to Earth. So how does this thermal energy even get to the Earth? Well, it occurs through thermal energy transfer. Earth is a closed system, which means it allows energy to enter and exit freely. But matter cannot enter or exit freely naturally, but we have done it artificially with space travel. This allows solar rays and radiation, which are all forms of thermal energy, to enter and exit Earth.
Typhoons and floods are also not a rare occurrence, as Japan can be hit by around 30 per year. Part of the reason Japan is so prone to typhoons and floods has to do with their proximity of water. In their case, it is the ocean. During the summer months, Japan has a north flowing current, Kuroshio, also known as the Black Stream, on the west side of the North Pacific Ocean. Because the current is traveling from the equator, which makes it a warm current, this will cause the water around Japan to heat up and evaporate, which makes the air more humid and cause more typhoons to form.
To sum this up, the water along the equator soaks up most of the solar radiation from the sun. This heat is transferred from the equator through currents. Therefore, ocean currents that come up from the equator are usually almost always warm, which heats up land masses around the world. Typhoons are formed when an influx of water evaporates, then sinks, creating strong winds. Global wind patterns push typhoons. Japan will usually experience a typhoon because of the Black Stream, which again is a warm ocean current. Global wind patterns also have an effect on the direction of these currents. Have you ever wondered why your toilet spins in a certain direction in the southern hemisphere and a certain direction in the north? If you may have noticed or not have noticed, toilets in the north spin counterclockwise, and in the south they spin clockwise. This is because of a phenomenon called the Coriolis effect. If the Earth didn't spin, fluids like air and water would just move back and forth between high pressure areas like the poles and low pressure areas like the equators. But because the Earth spins from west to east, the air moving to the North Pole is deflected eastward, and the air moving towards the equator is deflected westward. It forms circular motions that move counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. This greatly affects Japan because of how it makes the typhoons curve towards Japan. Jet streams are narrow currents of air that cruise very high in our atmosphere. They are often described as ribbons of fast-moving winds. In the northern hemisphere, where Japan is located, jet streams direct their airflow from the south to the north. However, as mentioned previously, the force of the Coriolis effect drives these narrow currents counterclockwise. This means that jet streams that hit Japan come from west to east. Jet streams also take up a wavy format or shape because of hot and cold temperatures. Cold air from the pole drives part of the jet stream south, as hot air originating from the south drives part of the jet stream to the north. This is why jet streams take up a wavy pattern. The current located in the north of a jet stream is colder than the current in the south of one. The current also affects another aspect of Japanese weather, in the form of cloud covers. Cloud covers are basically just the amount of clouds in the sky. The cloud covers have few functions such as cooling and heating the earth, and they're part of the water cycle. The clouds heat up the earth as heat rays are reflected from the ground. The cloud traps the heat and bounces it back towards the earth, but it also cools it down by reflecting the sun rays up towards the atmosphere. This reflection and absorption of heat is known as the albedo effect. An albedo is a unit of measurement used to determine the reflectivity of an object. A lower albedo results in absorption. Higher albedo results in reflection. Generally, lighter colors result in a higher albedo, which means the Earth will not heat up as much because the sun's radiation is reflected rather than absorbed. This is a huge reason global warming is speeding up. As the polar ice caps melt, there is less snow/ice to reflect sun rays, which means the Earth will get warmer because of the ocean, which absorbs thermal energy. Further melting more ice caps, which increases the speed of global warming. So we can expect to see global warming continue to increase in speed as the years pass. Japanese cloud covers vary depending on season. In Tokyo, the clearest would be from October to March, lasting from 5 to 6 months. December 26th would be the clearest day and would be partly cloudy, 76% of the time. March 30th is when it becomes cloudy. This lasts up to 6 months. The cloudiest day is on June 26th and is mostly cloudy 73% of the time.
As mentioned before, Japan lies between 24 to 45 degrees north, which is in the temperate climate zone. Because of this, the country experiences 4 distinct seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. During the summer months, Japan experiences temperature from 25 to 27 degrees Celsius and around 13 to 14 hours of daylight. It brings along with it the rainy season, called Baiyu. However, in the second half of summer, usually in August, western Japan experiences temperature up to 35 degrees Celsius due to the expanding North Pacific high, and also sunlight can hit Japan at a pretty harsh 80-degree angle. During the winter months, however, Japan is hit by cold winds coming from the Siberian high to low pressure areas over the northern Pacific Ocean. The cold wind brought heavy snowfall to the eastern side of Japan, places like the island of Hokkaido, the northern part. Usually get temperature as low as minus 20 degrees Celsius. The high mountains block the wind from reaching the western part, so places in the southwest, like Tokyo or Okinawa, have relatively mild winter. The length of daylight is also shorter, with only 10 to 11 hours of daylight.
Territories inside Japan tend to have pretty mild and consistent temperatures, especially in some of the big cities because of its proximity to the ocean. Most of Japan's highly populated cities such as Tokyo, Yokohama, and Hiroshima are located very close to the ocean. Their exposure to such a large body of water that close to them results in moderate/mild temperatures ranging from anywhere from 0 to 20 degrees Celsius. When the ocean or any body of water is heated, molecules will change into gas because they have more space to move. This process is called evaporation. Evaporation makes climates on land near big bodies of water more humid and hot. This is the major reason a greater part of Japan's climate is humid.
In the recent decades, Japan has faced threats of climate change and global warming. Because it is an island nation, Japan is focusing its attention on rising sea level and flooding. As close as July of 2018, Western Japan faced a devastating downpour that forced 2 million people to evacuate and 200 people killed. In September of the same year, Typhoon Jebi flooded Kansai International Airport, the gateway to cities like Kyoto, Osaka, and Kobe, making thousands of passengers left stranded, and total damage caused by the typhoon was over $3 billion. Research shows that Japan's temperature is rising faster than the global average, and Japan has just broken its temperature record with a heat stroke of 41 degrees Celsius.
Global warming also affects the nation from an economic and cultural standpoint. Anybody who has heard of Japan knows about sushi. Sushi is very important in Japanese culture. An important ingredient for sushi is salmon. The sea between Japan and Siberia, the Sea of Okhotsk, has increased in temperature by 3 degrees since the start of the Industrial Revolution. This causes the ice here to shrink by 30%, which makes the winters less intense. That may sound good, but on the other hand, it is damaging the salmon population. Salmons are very sensitive in temperature. During their migration season, the Sea of Okhotsk gets warmer and acts like a force field to the salmon, pushing the salmon off track and making them travel further. Many young salmon died along the way from exhaustion. As a result, the catch reduces from 21 to 52 metric tons per day to barely 6 metric tons per day. Global warming, earthquakes, and tsunamis have all had detrimental impacts on the economy of Japan. Billions of dollars have been spent on repairs and upgrades to Japan's infrastructure after tsunamis and earthquakes. Global warming is only threatening to cause more economic damage to Japan as the years pass by, as the risks of floods and rising sea levels are very much still present. Spiritual landmarks may be destroyed, which can demoralize the population.